host of the show, a member of the great Auburn University, studying there, also author of One Generation Away. Brilyn, thank you for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You really have inspired the nation from a Gen Z perspective. I like to say Gen Z is Gen free. Our friends over at Turning Point USA do as well. Tell us why it's so important to get involved as you have as a young American.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I greatly appreciate it. And War Eagle to you. I am joining you before I got ahead of an English class in just a little bit. So I'm super excited for the opportunity. And we've had a great first week here at Auburn University. We've juggled a mix of a crazy amount of media hits last week and filming my own podcast and then also making it to class. So don't worry, my parents can attest to the fact that I haven't missed anything just yet. I'll say to the broader extent of what you said of getting the next generation involved, it has never been more important. I mean, we are seeing Gen Z right now be the most conservative generation in modern American history. And if you said that just a few years ago, people would have called you crazy. They would have said, no. But the polling says the opposite. The polling says that Gen Z have nose rings and blue hair and bullhorns, and they're shutting down college campuses, and they hate Trump more than anything. Well, let me let you in on a little secret right now that all of the pollsters got wrong on the Republican side and the Democrat side. We talk a lot about the Republican Party being the silent majority. But what we saw with the loud members of Gen Z was a loud minority. Those same people with the nose rings and bullhorns and blue hair that shut down campuses all across this nation are the loud minority of my peers. And the silent majority of my peers got out to the ballot box. They got off the sidelines. They support President Trump. And they're actually going to class every day. Instead of skipping class and skipping their jobs, they actually have lives to shut down a college campus. That is the Gen Z we're actually seeing every single day that I'm on a college campus.
You know, it's interesting too, Brilyn, because I did work before here, before my media career with Turning Point USA, going to these college campuses. I was a Midwest regional manager. There's something about Auburn University that's in the water, whether it's Toomer's Corner to Jordan Hare on Saturday. We'll preview all of that, not only on the live desk, but on the Voice of Reason come every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. But there's something special about this school. There's something special about these students. Can you dive into that? I mean, you're a student there. Yeah. Quite frankly, I think you should be teaching your English class in a few minutes. But tell me more about why this Auburn University is so special and perhaps the premier university in all of the country.
It 100% is. And I think I have an interesting perspective on that. So I'm born and raised in Tuscaloosa. So I grew up in kindergarten where you couldn't put orange and blue colors next to each other if you had a crayon. Like that was a no-no. When you drove to the beach, you drove around Auburn. You couldn't drive through Auburn. Like this is a no-no zone because obviously it's our biggest rivalry ever. People didn't say the word Auburn. It was considered a cuss word. You didn't talk about it anywhere. Like this was the opposite of the culture that I grew up in. And I got to say, I came and spoke at Auburn's Turning Point chapter, and it completely changed my perspective on this campus. I was just out tabling with their guys a few days ago and told them that. And I was like, guys, y'all are the reason I'm here. Y'all are the reason that I even gave Auburn a chance, because I came and gave a speech to their chapter, happened to do a little campus tour afterwards. And I was like, first of all, the most beautiful campus I've ever seen. And I've spoken on 22 college campuses in the last year. I've seen a lot. This by far takes the top. Second, it's the community. It's the people. It's the feeling. And I hate to be like a Kamala Harris. It's the vibes type atmosphere, but it really is. It's the people on this campus building a Christian conservative community. Did I pass somebody with a tail yesterday? Yes, but it was one person. It's not a collective group of people that we see like up in Columbia or Harvard University. It's amazing to see Christian brothers and sisters in Christ leaning on each other on a campus instead of leading each other into temptation or going down, dark paths. This right here is substantially different than what we see across the country. Auburn's got something special going on. I'm here because I want to be a part of it for the next 4 years and beyond. It's very controversial being from Tuscaloosa and being here as in a sense from my back home group. They don't understand why I'm doing this. I think I'm crazy, but thankfully my Roll Tide family has been supportive of me. They're going to come to some games with me. They won't be wearing orange and blue, but they will be in the stands.
Hey, we're all here for it. And you know what's also awesome, Brilyn, is the fact that if someone has a different opinion here, I've never seen them torn down. I know there's some business owners in town that have the no king signs, and we've had nice discussions, but they're on the other side of history, and that's okay. They still like to be in the community because of that Christian standard of being good to your neighbor, actually following the 10 Commandments. It does make a difference, and wow, it's so controversial to discuss that nowadays, but if you look into our founders, they actually wanted that to happen. They cited that our rights come from God, not from government. It's the anniversary of Abbey-gate, a sad day 4 years ago. Please give us our thoughts from a Gen Z observer as yourself, also an editor-in-chief of an outlet you founded yourself. Terrible moments and really perhaps the biggest foreign policy blunder of the past administration.
Absolutely, it's one of the biggest foreign policy blunders in modern American history. We look a lot at the Biden administration and talk about their missteps. We talk about, the failures of Joe Biden. A lot of those up until that point were just him tripping up the stairs of Air Force One, or him tripping on a sandbag on stage, or mispronouncing the name of some foreign dignitary. And those were bad things. It was embarrassing. But first of all, the international impact and image that portrayed on the world stage. It took years and years to be reversed. We're just now getting back to that standard of America's back. We will not be disrespected, and we're not going to be the laughing stock anymore. That's the first aspect. Second, the fact that this is the worst part of all of it, that Biden refused to even acknowledge this part, was the compassion towards the families. Like there was a complete lack of that, where a brutal, completely incident that didn't have to happen. We had stupid people like Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken in the Oval Office making these decisions, and we have people now in the Oval Office saying, yeah, that didn't actually have to happen. We could have done that a completely different way. We left them with a playbook of how to go about this, and they like completely ripped it up and just went their own way. This is one of those scenarios, I think, where Americans started waking up to the fact that Joe Biden claimed that he was going to be the centrist. I don't love Donald Trump's personality, so I voted for Joe Biden. But now he's blowing up not only the country, but like our international image. Maybe he's not such good old Joe from Scranton that we were told. And I think a lot of hearts and minds change. And I'll tell you, speaking on college campuses last year, not necessarily a hot topic at the moment, like our Afghanistan withdrawal and the botched version of that wasn't one of my typical speaking lines when I spoke on campuses, but it came up several times in the Q&A sessions when I spoke on campuses, and people were like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, don't love Trump completely, but I'm open to voting for him because I saw that when he was in office, we not only had no new wars, but internationally we were respected. And, I don't love the spray tan. Maybe don't love the way he talks to people, but I love that we were actually, not a laughing stock on the world stage. And that genuinely woke young people up. So I think we can attribute some of that, anger and frustration with Biden to flipping people over to not necessarily being like MAGA and attending rallies, but getting off the sidelines of voting. And we'll welcome them with open arms to our party.
I really noticed that last week in Peachtree City, Georgia, actually,
Yeah.
the vice president being the first sitting vice president since Dan Quayle to visit Fayette County in Georgia. And it felt almost like a traditional Democrat rally of labor and business leaders coming together in order to bring good paying, high wages to a beautiful place just southwest of Atlanta. So really to echo that point, Brilyn, the fact that male traditional Democrats seem to be within that fold of MAGA. Now, not to compare apples and oranges, but safety on the mind of countless people because of what's happening in Washington, D.C., but also cities like Chicago, where you have a bunch of Democrats yesterday out there on a beautiful part of downtown Chicago. I'm familiar with it. I'm from the area. Used to take the train in, the Metra in from the suburbs over there. And so I walked over that area where they were right off of the Chicago River. But here's the thing. Senator Tammy Duckworth is talking about, hey, it's all smoke and mirrors. This is all happening while sirens are wailing in the background. Now, granted, it's the third largest city, but that's become somewhat familiar for people. So how does President Trump really thread this needle constitutionally and potentially put these boots on the ground in order for law enforcement? It's something we've seen here in Alabama years ago. Governor George Wallace, whether it was President Kennedy or President Eisenhower, a certain governor did not want to enforce the law, what was ruled by the justice system, Brown versus the Board of Education specifically, and wanted to keep people out of these public universities based on their skin color. Do you see any similarities in this situation?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Peachtree City analogy there because I was reminded the second I saw that of this time last year when President Trump visited the Bronx. Remember when he did that rally, one of his larger rallies, the media was flabbergasted. This is right before Madison Square Garden. They were trying to say that he couldn't have filled that up, which he did and had a waiting room, outside. But he went to the Bronx, somewhere that Republicans never think about, much less take a time to actually go pay a visit to. And he reached out to unseen, unheard people groups that are in the deepest of deep blue cities and they packed a rally for him. And we didn't bus people in, we didn't fly people in. Like, genuinely, people from the Bronx wanted to hear from President Trump. And did they agree with everything he said? Probably not. Did they take the time to listen to him, and did some of them vote for him? Yes. And that's a huge aspect of what is the modern day Republican Party that thankfully JD Vance is listening to and saying, let's go to places that Democrats don't take the time to actually court. They just assume they have a monopoly over, and places previous Republican administrations didn't even take the time to think about. We're going to actually visit there and listen to them. And I think that's a huge testament to what the future of the Republican Party looks like under JD Vance. As for some of the security concerns going across the country, I think it is insane that the left continues to take the most extreme radical stances on common sense issues. It started with men and women's sports, and that became a losing issue for them. It's continued with some of their transgender nonsense, and that became a losing issue for them. And now they're taking the side of being pro-crime and anti-police again. That didn't work for them in the summer of 2020. Their defund the police movement shed them of voters, and by the millions, because they were saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes, we like some of the talk of the Democrat Party, but we're not going to support a group that's like actively paying the bail of protesters trying to assault police officers like Kamala Harris did. And now, modern day, they're going right back to it. They didn't learn their lesson. And I don't want to give the Democrats any free advice. I hope they continue to go more radical left, because their party is a sinking ship of a party. Come 26, they will be a Titanic at the end of the ocean. I think really soon we're going to see a split of their party, of a radical wing and a more centrist wing. And the radical wing is going to take the lead over that. It's a really bad day to be a Democrat. And every single time that for some reason their consultants are like, yes, let's go farther to the left. Yes, let's take the most radical stance. I'm cheering them on, but it's insane.
Really is. It's something to watch, Brilyn, and I think a lot of it has to do with they want a strong, centralized government in Washington, D.C. to be the overlord of all our communities and states, and they simply don't believe in states' rights. Oh, and by the way, it's not a dog whistle. It's the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. Yeah. So, Brilyn Hollyhand, where can we find your show and get your great expertise from a Gen Z perspective?
Thank you. I appreciate it. All of my commentary straight from Auburn University right here is on my social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you are. It's at Brilyn Hollyhand. My book is One Generation Away. It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get books. And we'll continue to have a lot of commentary over the next 4 years and beyond straight from this beautiful campus.
Well, Gen Z is Gen free, and I'm proud to be neighbors with you, my friend. And I don't know, we might have to co-host one of these together, the Brilyn Hollyhand Show and the Voice of Reason. It would be a great time, and we look forward to Friday, Auburn versus Baylor. Any predictions on that game?
I think we'll see a big Auburn win, and it'll be good momentum to start the season. I'm super excited about it. My first Auburn game as a student. I actually came to the A&M game last year and got to storm Jordan Harris Field, and that was a lot of fun.